A heck of a Tuesday for us, guys. Where should we begin? I'll tell you this, something is not right. Of the day is what is happening right now in the world, and what just happened to my friend Charlie Kirk is a battle of sheer evil versus...
No one saw this coming, not even Charlie Kirk himself. Candace Owens just dropped a bombshell that has everyone talking, in a stunning turn of events. She's revealed shocking details about the widow's secret role in the entire case, and trust me, it's darker than anyone ever imagined. The internet is in chaos, headlines are exploding, and people are demanding answers. What started as a quiet controversy has now turned into a full-blown storm. And at the center of it all stand three names: Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and a widow whose silence suddenly means everything. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, where truth meets drama, and the stories they don't want you to hear finally come to light. And today we're diving deep into the controversy that has set social media on fire. Candace Owens' explosive revelation has not only shocked the political world but also reopened old wounds surrounding Charlie Kirk's case. Was this a setup, a betrayal, or the uncovering of something far more disturbing? Stay tuned, because once you hear what Candace said, you'll never look at this story the same way again. Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator and founder of Turning Point USA, has always been known as a bold, outspoken figure in American politics, never afraid to stir the pot. But this time, the controversy isn't about his speeches or his debates. It's about something far more personal, and far more unsettling. A case that began quietly, surrounded by whispers of manipulation and hidden motives, has now erupted into a national conversation. Rumors have circulated for months, questions about loyalty, money, and the mysterious involvement of a widow, whose connection to Kirk's circle was never fully explained. And then comes Candace Owens, the firebrand, the truth teller, the woman who doesn't hold back, known for calling out hypocrisy both inside and outside her own party. Candace has built her reputation on saying what others are too afraid to say. When she speaks, people listen, and when she accuses, the internet explodes. Her new revelation about the widow's hidden role in the Charlie Kirk case has left audiences stunned, because if what Candace is suggesting is true, this isn't just a scandal, it's a betrayal that could change everything. For weeks, people speculated about the quiet widow who seemed to fade into the background of Charlie Kirk's ongoing controversy. Many believed she was simply grieving, choosing silence over public attention, but that silence, as it turns out, may have been hiding something far more complicated. Candace Owens, never one to shy away from uncomfortable truths, broke that silence in the most explosive way possible. In her latest podcast, she didn't just hint, she named names. With her signature calm yet cutting tone, Candace declared, "People need to understand, this wasn't just about Charlie. The widow played a role, and it wasn't innocent." Her words sent shockwaves through political circles. She claimed that the widow, who had been portrayed as a victim of circumstance, had actually been involved behind the scenes, influencing conversations, manipulating decisions, and possibly even using her late husband's connections to shape how the case unfolded. Owens didn't stop there. She went on to suggest that certain emotional appeals made by the widow to the media were carefully calculated, not spontaneous expressions of pain. According to Candace, it was all part of a script, designed to make Charlie look guilty before the truth could even surface. The revelation hit like a thunderclap. For months, people had sympathized with the widow, admiring her composure and her quiet dignity. But now, that same silence began to feel eerie. Was it really grief, or guilt? Candace's statement painted a new picture, one where the widow was no longer a background figure, but a potential architect in a much larger game. Social media immediately erupted with divided opinions. Some defended the widow, calling Candace's claims cruel and insensitive. Others insisted that Candace was only exposing what everyone had quietly suspected, that something about the story never added up. Suddenly, the narrative had flipped. The woman once seen as broken by tragedy was now being viewed through an entirely different lens. And as Candace's words echoed across the internet, a haunting line from her show stayed with everyone. The widow's silence was seen as grief, but now, it seems it was something else entirely. Twitter went wild. One user wrote, "If Candace is right, then everything we thought we knew about Charlie Kirk's case was a lie." Another posted, "I used to respect the widow's silence, but now I'm not so sure. Candace might have just pulled the curtain back on the biggest cover-up of the year." On the other side, her critics didn't hold back either. Candace Owens should stop stirring pain for clicks. One tweet said, "Let the woman mourn. Not everything needs to be a conspiracy." To truly understand the weight of Candace Owens' revelation, we have to rewind back to the beginning of the Charlie Kirk controversy, before the headlines, before the outrage, when everything still appeared normal on the surface. At that time, the story seemed simple: a trusted figure facing backlash, a widow mourning in silence, and a circle of allies rallying around a shared sense of loss and loyalty. But behind the scenes, according to whispers that have now resurfaced, the connections between these players were far more tangled than anyone realized. The widow wasn't just an observer. Allegedly, she had a quiet but powerful hand in shaping how the narrative unfolded. Reports suggest she was deeply involved in private meetings, sending messages, and even providing financial support to key individuals who would later become central figures in Kirk's case. Some sources claim that documents and communications were filtered through her, that she acted as a bridge between certain insiders and the media, deciding which details reached the public and which were buried. It all seemed innocent at first. A grieving woman trying to protect her late husband's legacy and the people connected to him, but as Candace pointed out, certain coincidences became too precise to ignore. Donations appeared at just the right time, statements were released that conveniently aligned with political shifts, and every time questions arose, the widow's name quietly disappeared from the conversation, as if someone was deliberately keeping her out of the spotlight. Now, in the light of Candace's claims, those old details take on a different meaning. What if the widow wasn't just protecting memories but manipulating them? What if the tears, the tributes, and the carefully worded statements were all part of a calculated plan to shield herself or others from scrutiny? People close to the situation describe her as measured, strategic, even charming in the way she controlled a room without saying much. She had access, influence, and a reputation that made her untouchable, and for months, no one questioned her motives until Candace did. The deeper you look, the more the puzzle pieces begin to shift. Hidden messages, deleted posts, unexplained donations, they all paint a picture that feels less like tragedy and more like orchestration. And that's what makes Candace's revelation so powerful. She didn't just accuse, she reignited every unanswered question, because now, every moment of silence, every avoided question, and every carefully timed public appearance by the widow feels like part of something much bigger, something that was never meant to be uncovered. The timing of Candace Owens' revelation has left everyone asking the same question: why now? For months, the Charlie Kirk case had started to fade from the headlines. The outrage was cooling, the interviews had stopped, and it seemed like the political world was finally ready to move on. But just when the storm began to settle, Candace reignited it with one statement, and suddenly, all eyes were back on her. Some say it was strategic, others believe it was deeply personal. But whatever the reason, Candace's timing was no coincidence. Many analysts suggest that Candace waited for the perfect moment when people were least expecting it, when fatigue had set in and the conversation was dying out. By speaking now, she not only pulled the story back into the spotlight but also positioned herself as the one voice brave enough to speak when everyone else had gone quiet. This isn't new for her. Candace has built her career on confrontation, stepping into silence, stirring debate, and forcing uncomfortable truths into the open. But this time, it feels different. This time, her words carry a sting that feels more personal than political. Insiders close to Owens claim that she had been sitting on information for weeks, even months, waiting for verification. She allegedly wanted to ensure that when she spoke, her words couldn't be dismissed as mere speculation. Others think her motivation might be tied to a deeper rift between her and Charlie Kirk, an unspoken tension that's been brewing behind the scenes of conservative media circles. The two once shared stages, interviews, and common causes. But over the past year, their alliance has quietly fractured, replaced by subtle digs, cryptic tweets, and now, a full-blown public explosion. Still, some believe Candace's move is as much about the bigger picture as it is about personal truth. With the political climate heating up and factions within conservative media clashing for dominance, her revelation could be a calculated statement. A reminder that she's not afraid to challenge even her own circle when she believes something is being hidden. As one commentator put it, Candace Owens doesn't pick random battles, she picks the ones that matter to her brand, her audience, and her conscience. Whatever her reasons, one thing is certain: she's reignited a fire that won't go out easily. The timing, the tone, and the target all suggests that this wasn't an impulsive outburst, it was deliberate. And now, the question haunting everyone's mind isn't just what Candace revealed, but why she chose to reveal it now, when the entire world had finally stopped looking. When Candace Owens' revelation went public, Everyone turned their attention to one person, Charlie Kirk. The question on everyone's lips was simple: how would he respond? 4 hours after the story broke, there was silence. No statement, no tweet, no public comment. It was as if the usually outspoken Kirk had suddenly gone into hiding. But behind the scenes, according to insiders, things were far from calm. Sources close to Kirk say he was furious, blindsided, betrayed, and determined to fight back in his own way. According to a staffer who allegedly witnessed the initial reaction, Kirk's team immediately went into crisis mode. Phones were ringing non-stop, advisors were scrambling to draft statements, and private calls were being made to trusted allies. He couldn't believe Candace said it publicly. One insider claimed he thought whatever tension existed between them would stay private. This crossed a line. The report suggests that Kirk saw Candace's revelation as not just a personal attack, but a strategic one, an attempt to damage his credibility right when he was rebuilding his image. However, despite his anger, Kirk has so far chosen silence. No direct response on social media. No interviews addressing Candace's claims. Just a few vague tweets about integrity, loyalty, and knowing who your real friends are. To his supporters, this silence shows restraint, a man choosing dignity over drama. But to his critics, it looks like guilt, or at least fear of what else Candace might reveal next. As one viral tweet put it, if Charlie Kirk had nothing to hide, he'd be live streaming a denial right now. Still, some of his allies are quietly defending him. They argue that Kirk's silence is a smart move, a chance to let the outrage burn itself out before giving it more fuel. A conservative commentator close to Kirk told reporters, "Charlie isn't the type to panic. He's waiting, and when he speaks, it'll be loud." Meanwhile, whispers from inside Turning Point USA suggest growing tension among his inner circle. Some want him to go on the offensive to call Candace out directly and expose what they claim are her own contradictions. Others urge patience, fearing that reacting too soon could make him look defensive. For now, Kirk remains quiet, but the pressure is building. Every day that passes without a response adds to the speculation. In the echo of that silence, one thing feels undeniable: this isn't over. And as one anonymous insider put it, Candace may have fired the first shot, but Charlie's not the kind of man who lets someone else write his ending. Amid all the noise, the accusations, and the endless speculation, it's easy to forget that at the center of this storm are real people: a widow, a man's legacy, and the truth desperately fighting to come out. Behind the headlines and political talking points lies a story soaked in grief, loyalty, and betrayal. The widow, once seen as a symbol of quiet strength, now finds herself painted in a far darker light. Her face, once associated with loss and dignity, is now being dissected by strangers online. Her every gesture turned into evidence, her every silence into suspicion. And then there's Charlie Kirk, a man whose reputation has become a battlefield. For him, this isn't just about politics, it's personal. The case has touched friendships, faith, and trust, tearing at the very fabric of the relationships he built over the years. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: everyone involved has lost something. Reputations are damaged, hearts are broken, and the lines between truth and rumor have blurred beyond recognition. Even Candace Owens, bold and unapologetic as ever, isn't immune to the emotional weight of her own revelation. Watching the backlash unfold, you can sense a tension beneath her confidence, as if she knows the cost of speaking her truth might be isolation. Whether she's a whistleblower or a provocateur, one can't ignore that her words have reopened wounds that may never fully heal. It's a tragic kind of irony that what began as a story of grief and remembrance has turned into one of division and doubt. A widow accused, a man's name dragged through the mud, a truth so twisted that no one knows who to believe anymore. And as the world watches from behind their screens, the real pain, the human pain, gets lost in the noise. Because sometimes, in the chase for truth, it's not just secrets that are exposed, it's hearts that are broken. Just when everyone thought they understood the story, the pieces started shifting again, and the mystery deepened. Because what if Candace Owens isn't telling the full story? What if her explosive revelation is only one side of a much larger, more tangled web? For every claim she's made, there are whispers that point in the opposite direction, whispers that suggest there might be more to the widow's silence than guilt. Some close to the situation now claim that Candace's version leaves out key details, private conversations, unseen documents, and moments that could completely change the narrative. A few insiders even insist that the widow's silence wasn't manipulation at all, but protection, that she stayed quiet not to deceive, but to keep something, or someone, safe. Others go further, suggesting that someone might have fed Candace selective information, knowing she'd amplify it to millions. The more people dig, the murkier it gets. Financial records that don't align, conflicting statements from mutual acquaintances, and an old interview clip that suddenly feels loaded with new meaning. Everything once clear now feels like part of a puzzle missing half its pieces. And through it all, the widow remains quiet. No interviews, no responses, just a single, haunting image of her leaving her home. Eyes hidden behind dark glasses, saying nothing as the cameras flash. To some, that silence screams guilt. To others, it's the silence of someone who's seen too much. So now, the question isn't just who's lying, it's who's left to tell the truth. Because if Candace Owens only opened one door, there may be many others still locked behind it. And what's waiting on the other side might be even more shocking than what she revealed. And just when it seemed the dust was starting to settle, another twist threw the entire story back into chaos. Late last night, whispers began circulating about something far more explosive, a recording. According to multiple anonymous sources, there may be an audio file that could prove everything Candace Owens has been saying, or expose her as completely wrong. The rumor started on a private political forum before spreading like wildfire across social media. Supposedly, this recording captures a private conversation between two individuals tied directly to the case. One of them allegedly being the widow herself. The clip, which only a handful of people claim to have heard, reportedly contains references to hidden payments, coordinated statements, and even a warning that someone's watching everything we do. If true, it could turn the entire narrative upside down. Some say Candace already knew about the recording before she went public, that her statements were a way to get ahead of its release. Others believe she's never heard it at all and that it could completely contradict her claims, exposing an entirely different chain of events. But what's even more chilling is that no one knows who's leaking this or why it's surfacing now. Is it a desperate attempt to defend Charlie Kirk, a move by Candace's camp to validate her story, or something darker, someone trying to control both sides of the chaos? Meanwhile, online forums are ablaze with speculation. Users are claiming fragments of the audio exist, snippets whispered through encrypted messages and private group chats. No one has confirmed its authenticity, but one thing's for sure, people are watching, waiting, refreshing their feeds every few seconds. If the recording is real and it ever goes public, it could destroy reputations, confirm hidden alliances, and reveal who's truly been pulling the strings from the start. And as one post chillingly put it, if you think Candace's revelation was the bombshell, wait until you hear the tape. As the dust begins to settle, at least for now, what remains is bigger than any single revelation, rumor, or recording. The Candace Owens-Charlie Kirk saga has become more than just a controversy. It's a reflection of the world we live in today. A world where truth battles, perception, and every whisper can become a weapon. What started as a personal dispute has spiraled into a full-blown political storm, one that's tested loyalty, faith, and the boundaries of public trust. In the wake of this chaos, the question isn't just about who's right or wrong, it's about who we choose to believe. Candace Owens claims to be fighting for transparency, exposing what others are too afraid to say. Charlie Kirk, whether guilty or wronged, stands as a symbol of how fast reputations can unravel in the age of instant outrage. And the widow, she remains the mystery that holds this entire story together, silent, unseen, and possibly holding the final truth that could change everything. The internet has turned the story into entertainment, but beneath the headlines lies something far more human: ambition, betrayal, and grief colliding in the public eye. Lives are being dissected in real time, and millions of strangers are acting as judge and jury with nothing more than fragments of information. It's a reminder that in today's digital world, narratives aren't just told, they're built, reshaped, and weaponized. So as the world waits for the next twist, one haunting question lingers in everyone's mind. In a world of headlines and hidden agendas, who do we really believe? So now it's your turn. What do you believe? Do you think Candace Owens is bravely exposing a truth that others are too scared to touch? Or is she twisting the story for her own reasons? Could the widow truly be hiding something? Or has she become the latest victim of online hysteria? Whatever your take is, I want to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And let's get the conversation started. And if you've been following this wild story from the beginning, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more deep dives into the headlines everyone's talking about but no one's fully explaining. Because here on this channel, we don't just chase the gossip, we uncover the truth behind it. Stay tuned, stay curious, and remember, in stories like these, the drama is never really over.